Oh, we're live here. Great. Okay, cool. Good day, fellow rockers and moshes. Welcome to the Metal Connection, the connection to all things metal. I'm J Dub, and today on the show we're doing 90s melodic death metal. So I've asked all the guests here to choose their 5 favorite melodic death metal albums. A very difficult task, but we'll try to run through our 5 here, and then obviously we'll have some honorable mentions and some other great picks and things that we couldn't fit into our top 5. But yeah, so 90s melodic death metal. I don't know if anyone wants to kick off saying anything. Maybe I'll pose a question like what's like proto melodic death metal? Like would Entombed be that proto melodic sound or that proto death metal sound that all those Swedish bands kind of took the sound and kind of started morphing off of?
Yeah, definitely, most definitely.
So Entombed would kind of just be that bass, and then they kind of started morphing off of that.
Yeah, Entombed definitely was in that. I mean, obviously they were part of that, that Swedish buzzsaw kind of death metal sound, but they were definitely. I still think, especially early Entombed, they're part of. They were well welcomed within the melodic death scene. You know what I mean? They are. They don't. A lot of people that are like hardcore melodeath fans, they may not see Entombed as a melodeath band, but I think they fit in there.
Yeah, I couldn't, like, obviously I'm not from Sweden, but I could imagine that all those bands worshipped Entombed. They just obviously would have all been going to the live shows and been in the scene and obviously worshipped the band. And obviously just started morphing off that and creating new sounds and basically adding folk and melodic aspects and basically what we're going to be talking about. But I forgot what else I was going to add, but yeah, cool. I don't know if anyone wants to go volunteer to go first, and then we'll just go around from there.
I'll go first.
Go first, Jamie?
Huh?
Yeah, go ahead.
You want to go first, Jamie, or do you want me to?
I'll go first. I'll go ahead and throw my first one on the back burner.
Yeah, if anyone wants to start first, and then we'll go around in a circle from there, and then so yeah, if you want to tell us one of your, I guess it'd be bottom, so your 5th least favorite. So, and then work your way up. So yeah, go ahead.
Oh, my least favorite? Oh, we're doing the orders of
like favorite. Least of the 5.
In the order.
It doesn't matter. Anyone of your.
Well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know.
Okay. My first one is going to be Hatebreeder by Children of Bodom.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, this album is freaking fantastic. It's their second full length. And yeah, man, I miss my copy so much. I lost my copy of that. Alexi everything sounds so like Something Wild is really raw. Now we got better sound now. So I'm gonna say my highlight tracks: Silent Night, Bodom Night, Downfall. Bed of Razors is my favorite song on the album. I love Bed of Razors. Synthesizer goes crazy on that.
Yeah, that's a solid album. Love that album.
It really is an incredible album. Alexi really knew what he was doing with the first trio. Everything else is fantastic about them too, but those trio of albums, from Something Wild, Hatebreeder to Fall of Reaper, are just like magnificent.
They were.
So yeah, I love that album, and it is one of my all-time favorites. It's Children of Bodom is one of my favorite bands of all times.
Yeah, I think with Children of Bodom, like obviously they're a great band and one of my favorites, and they were definitely one of the bands that I first got into with melodeath. Them in Flames. It was Children of Bodom, In Flames, Dark Tranquility, and Soilwork. Those are the 4.
Mine were Monomarth and Children of Bodom.
Yeah, and I think with Children of Bodom, like all their albums are great. I found like past, like I guess Follow the Reaper, the albums past that they're great, but I found those first 3 Children of Bodom albums were like special. They had a different
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Hey Crew, Death Roll, and all that.
Oh yeah, too, they're great albums.
Hey Crew, Death Roll is fantastic too for a 4th one. Yeah. But yeah, man, Hatebreeder is it's an incredible sophomore album.
Yeah,
and I can recommend it enough.
Yeah, even Something Wild is as an introduction, I guess, to the masses from that band. It's a great album, but with the next ones after that, they're just like Hatebreeder and Follow the Reaper, like just amazing.
They really found their sound in Fall of a Reaper, in my opinion.
Yeah. That's where they developed their more melodic sound.
Yes, I would talk about that when it came out in 2001 or 2000.
Yeah, that's due in part to Peter Tagrin as well. I don't know who that is or not, but he's vocalist for Hypocrisy. He's a big producer. He produces like a lot of obviously he's big into the death metal world, obviously, but he produces a lot of mellow death bands. So, and he was big with Children of Bodom back then when they first started. So,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Great production.
It really is, man. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much most of these songs are classics that are still kind of show up in their set lists. Maybe not if they play a shorter set list, but if they do a full headline set list, a lot of these songs still show up in their set lists in one way or another, and from time to time, from year to year, but they still pretty well play most of these songs, so they're kind of considered classics, greatest hits, as you'd say. So obviously you're right up there with, you're right along the lines there with these picks, and I think a lot of these bands are going to be almost no-brainers. Like it's not going to be it's not going to be a lot of obscure stuff, because these are our favorite albums for a reason, and they're our top albums for the reason. So maybe we might power through maybe our top 5, and actually maybe the juicier stuff will be the honorable mentions. Maybe the deep cut stuff maybe we'll do after. So. Maybe this stuff might be like, oh yeah, we know this album, we've seen that, but these are the essential 90s melodic death metal albums, kind of for a reason. And actually, just so maybe we don't keep talking about it, that's my number 5 as well. Cool. I don't want to jump the line here for a circle, but maybe I'm going to jump in there and say that's my number 5 as well. There's no other bottom in my top 5, so I had to get bottom in there. I'm a little bit. I'm not going to disagree with Dave. Obviously, he loves his top. He loves the first 3. I love the albums after.
I love all of our albums.
I do. Yeah.
I love Hatred, Death Roll, and Blood Draw, and Halo. Halo. I love the Halo one, and even the last one.
Are you dead yet? Are you dead yet? It's good.
But again, those wouldn't fall into 90s. So, but anyway, Alexi is like a pioneer in the genre, adding his classical keyboards, adding the classical chords thing. So he's kind of a pioneer, kind of doing that without kind of making it cheesy. Like it's like, oh, this is cool, without being cheesy. Like if you were to turn it symphonic power metal, okay, that's cheesy, but he's keeping that raspy, kind of snarly, harsh, extreme death metal, which he kept it cool. He kept that cool factor. Yep. So obviously I got to throw Children of Bodom a bone, and Hatebreeder's got to be in my top. It was either Hatebreeder or Something Wild. It's got to be in my top 5. So. I got to put Hatebreeder in my top 5. And
what's your favorite song off of that, Jamie?
A bunch of these are classics, but we're gonna probably, if you're gonna put me on spot,
I'm taking Bed of Razors. I love Bed of Razors.
Or Silent Night, Bottom Night.
Oh yeah.
Or even Downfall. The last song, Downfall.
Yeah, I mentioned that one. That one's one of my favorites. Yeah.
So even a Downfall is kind of a classic there too.
Oh yeah, but, I think that was a staple. That was a staple for Oliver Sacks. He always played Downfall. Pretty sure.
It's the full screen. Oh yeah, cool. There's a commenter here. We got evening. Please wait a minute, everybody. Anyway, that's cool down. Good evening, folks.
Hello.
But anyway, I thought I would just chime in there, just so we didn't keep rehashing the album again. But anyway, so I have the screen up, but. I'll get rid of the comment, but Heavy Metal Maniac, if you want to go up next there.
Yeah, sure. All right. So like we mentioned in the beginning there, like to pick these 5 albums was kind of tough. But I think I'm happy with my choices. And actually, speaking of obscure stuff, I'm sure the rest of you have probably heard of this band, but I'd probably say there's probably a good amount of people out there that may not actually be familiar with them. Clint, you might be familiar with them. They'd be right up your alley. And I'm going to go my top. I'm putting this as my number 5 pick. I want to put it higher, and it is actually a higher album, but my number 1 album, I just can't stay away from that. That's my number 1 album, and we'll get to that. But by no means is this a low pick by any means. But I'm going to go with Gardenian, 2 Feet Stand. Okay. Yep.
That is some obscure stuff right there.
Yeah.
I don't know that.
Are you familiar with them, Jamie?
No.
Oh, I've been looking for
No.
Oh, Clint, you're familiar with these guys, eh, Clint?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to get that CD. I have been looking for that thing. That thing is not easy.
So basically, Jamie and Decimated Soul, for your guys' knowledge, Gardenian is very well. Clint can attest to this. It's very inflamed sounding.
Very much so.
Yeah, and in fact, Nicholas Englund, the guitarist for In Flames, that's where he came from.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where he started with. He started with Gardenian and moved on to In Flames.
I have to look them up.
Yeah, if you like Jester Race, Horacle, Claimant, yeah, especially Jester Race and Horacle style Flames. That's it, that album right there.
Yep,
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, 2 Feet Stand, Gardenian, 1997, great album.
I was just going to ask what year it was.
97. Yeah.
Hatebreeder barely made it. It's 99.
What's that?
Hatebreeder barely made it. It's 99.
Yeah. My number 1 pick is 99, but we'll get to that later. Cool.
Yeah, that album's incredible. I've been looking for that for a while. It is definitely got the early In Flames sound.
It does, yeah.
And it's really good, and it's just the production reminded me of the old black metal days because it's really raw.
It is, yeah. And it's also on Jamie, you'll like this. It's also on Listenable Records.
Oh yeah, cool.
Yeah, which Listenable are they're a pretty obscure label, right, for a lot of metal bands. So
I also seen an IRS tag on there as well. IRS Records tag on there.
Yeah, there is. Yeah,
seen an IRS tag on there.
Yeah. Great album. Definitely worth checking out. I have all their albums on CD, but
I've been hunting those for a while. I definitely reminded me of I need to get all of those eventually. How many do they have?
They only made 3 albums and then they disbanded. Yeah, so it's a shame, but great band, and especially in Flames. They're that's my first pick.
Awesome picks, both of y'all, or all 3 of y'all, I guess technically. Awesome pick.
Yeah, and I'll move along. I said I already made my pick when Decimated Soul made his. We both had Hatebreeder at number 5, so we'll move along. And Clint, you'd be up next there.
All right. I don't have mine in any particular order.
Neither do I. Hatebreeder was
I couldn't pick because this is my favorite genre. They're all, this is what I thrive to do as a musician. This is, what I want to do. But my number 1, or I guess number 5 pick will be Ceremonial Oath Carpet.
Nice.
And if y'all have never listened to Ceremonial Oath, it was Anders' first band before he joined In Flames, and even before he was in Dark Tranquillity.
Yeah.
Anders is my number 1 idol. So I still need to get this CD. I have their first one, which they had the singer or the guitar player from Hammerfall on vocals.
Okay.
But, if you like raw In Flames, it has that kind of sound, but it's a little more black metal-ish, I guess. Like a melodic black metal sound.
Yeah.
But, it came out in 1994, and that was kind of like the start of like the Swedish invasion, is like what I like to call it.
Yeah.
The Gothenburg sound.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's an incredible, incredible album.
Yeah.
Definitely recommend it.
Yeah. Ceremony Oath, a great band. Good.
And they only had 2 albums, which suck.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I wish they'd have made more, but
Yeah.
the first one was good, but that second album with Anders it's the chef's kiss.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool.
All right.
Right on.
I know I've been trying to get the reissue of that Ceremonial Oath, and yeah, I'm gonna try to get that reissue, but yeah, I don't have it, but definitely old school, early stuff. And I was gonna say, what year was the Ceremonial Oath? Like 93?
The first one was 93. The second one, the one I was talking about, is 94.
Yeah. Nice.
And it's hard to believe hearing the person from Hammerfall doing melodic death metal vocals. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's cool.
It's good. Yeah.
Awesome, cool. So we'll keep it going, and then Decimated Soul, you're up next.
Oh yeah, you already went because you're just hay breeder. What the heck? I was like, wait, you didn't go yet, Jamie? But yeah, you did. All right. Well, my all-time favorite bands is the Black Dahlia Murder. So this band gave Black Dahlia Murder their sound. This is At the Gates, Slaughter of the Soul.
Nice.
One of my all-time favorite melodic death metal albums ever. Trevor really got his vocals from that. Yeah, man, I love Cold. I listen to Cold all the time. The Serpent one, the title track, of course. Blinded by Fear. That album is just so incredible, man. I love that.
Great album.
It's such a great album. I listen to it all the time. But yeah, one of the best melodic death metal albums ever, in my opinion.
It's an iconic melodeath album for sure.
Yeah.
Not a shocker to see that appear on someone's list, and it probably would appear again on someone's list, I'd imagine. So it might not be the last time we see that. It's kind of, I think a lot of people see this as the peak of melodic death metal, or I don't know if that's the proper term, but or the prototype, I guess you'd say. Maybe not the peak, but the prototype.
I would say it's kind of what gave melodeath popularity outside of the States.
Yeah.
Or outside of the Swedish sound. It's what branched melodeath sound more out there. You know, like
they are Swedish, though, aren't they?
In the European area, and didn't really branch out. But after that album, it really brought the sound out, you know, more mainstream.
Is it At the Gates Swedish, though?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Most melodic death metal is Swedish.
Yeah, I noticed that, you know?
At least, I would say at least a good 70% of melodic death metal is from Sweden.
Especially the 90s.
Yeah, you're so right.
Especially the 90s stuff, because really for melodeath from like North American melodeath, that didn't really come into effect until like the 2000s.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
I just wish I was, I wish I could go to that. You know, that's definitely a place I want to go to, is Gothenburg one of these days.
Yeah.
And get to the Hammersmith.
Oh, dear God.
Go play.
A great pick, and I'd imagine we'd probably see it again at the Gates. So we'll keep her going. So maybe we'll have some time to do some, some honorable mentions and stuff after. But Heavy Metal Maniac, if you want to go up next.
Sure. Yeah, my number fourth pick is obviously a very well-known band, and I'm going to go with In Flames, Just a Race.
Damn.
What do you know?
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, obviously it's a phenomenal album. Actually, the first album I heard from In Flames was Horacle, and that's what got me into them. And obviously, it branched out from there. But yeah, Just a Race. It's a great album. Iconic Melodeath album, obviously.
What's
Yeah, it
ironic?
really is, because that was one of my picks.
What's
It's okay.
ironic? What's ironic, and I'm going to jump in or tag along as well with the pick. Is this is my next pick as well? So I would be up next, but this is my next pick as well. My number 4th. It actually could be higher, but again, we're talking.
Yeah, exactly.
We're getting into like the difficult of the difficult here, but this could be number 1 on any given day. And if you were to ask me way back when I got into all this stuff, this probably was my number 1 originally. But just because I think actually this is going back like right back in early internet days, because you couldn't really get this stuff pre-internet, in like North America. Well, I couldn't anyway. Dave might be familiar. Like you're way up in the mountains in the middle of nowhere in Canada. You don't have access to pre-internet. I as a kid, you're 13, 14, and you're kind of just fed, whatever you kind of see, metal videos you see on TV and stuff like that. But anyway, I didn't really get hard into this stuff before internet started coming around. But 99 and stuff like that. But anyway, a guy sent me Graveland. A guy on like an IRC it was called IRC chat. He sent me a Graveland song, and I was like, oh, this is awesome, and I was hooked ever since there. In Flames, but what's really cool about this is they added so much folk elements to this.
Yeah,
they had a bunch of like folk passages and kind of like these majestic kind of segue, and it segues back into the melodic death, but these really cool kind of melodic, majestic passages. It just makes me think that obviously in Sweden, Finland, Norway, it's cold, it's wintry, it's scenic, right? So they're kind of romping around in the forest. It's cold, it's wintry. There's sticks, it's foresty, right? You can kind of like sense where the folkiness is coming out, right? I kind of just that's what I visualize when I hear this record. I visualize they're like the studio is right outside the forest, the woods, like they're looking right outside at nature. Like you can kind of just that's what I kind of feel when I hear this, especially all the folky stuff and that kind of stuff. I love this album, really diverse stuff. And again, that's pretty much what melodic death metal was. It was a more accessible death metal, right, where they kind of progressed a little bit. They played with different melodies and passages and vocal, different melodic passages, right, and even more thrashier parts and new wave of British heavy metal parts even thrown in there. But it's pretty much what melodic was. It was kind of just a more, it was just kind of progressing into a more accessible death metal almost, and adding more layers to it, essentially, right? Like adding more layers to it. I don't know if anyone else wants to chime in on what they kind of feel, but we kind of both have Just Race in there, and Decimated Sultan, and he's like, it's one of my picks too. So I imagine we're gonna see this again, but incredible artwork too. If someone has like the LP or something, you'd really be able to like get in there and zoom in there. But
damn, Moonshield really has a vibe on that album. Moonshield, that's such an incredible song.
Oh, just the whole thing for me. I love this album. So.
Personally, that has like one of my top favorite In Flames songs on that album, which is Artifacts of the Black Rain.
Nice. That's awesome.
Oh, I've heard that song. That is a good song.
I mean, like I never heard that song before I saw In Flames live, and I was like, whoa. Because Anders was scrolling like, you all want some old school stuff? Y'all got it, and they played Behind Space, then they played Artifacts, and I was like, I gotta hear this song, and like it made me go back. That was back in like 2004 when I saw them. and it made me kind of go back.
And I know I wanted to mention this before. I always love the instrumental wafer, however you actually pronounce it, wafer. I always love that wafer instrumental track. Sometimes you skip in, sometimes I'd be prone to skip instrumentals and things like that. But that's a really cool instrumental track. But where are we? So yeah, they basically Heavy Metal Maniac and J-Dub, we both made our picks simultaneously, so we'd be moving along to Cthulhu next.
All right. Wait. We'll wait till Dave comes back.
Jamie, you said progressive was fine too, right?
Obviously, I think that's a whole it's almost like a whole subgenre topic in itself, but it definitely has its place.
You said I could do a progressive or like doom boss metal.
Like, I don't think anything is purely melodic death metal, right? Like not every album.
I'm saying I have a band that's not melodic death metal because you said progressive death metal.
I think that's great. And I'm stating,
what band are we talking about?
I'm making a case for you. Like, I think that's really cool because I think that deserves a spot in this conversation. It's like melodic death metal. Every album doesn't just have to sound like At the Gates.
No.
Doesn't
no.
Like, just because an album doesn't sound like At the Gates, it doesn't mean it's not melodic death metal. Like, there's a lot of progressive death metal and progressive black metal that contains melodic parts, right? And folk metal and other subgenres of metal that contains melodic death metal, right? Because I'm getting in my obscure picks, I'll even just say it now. Like, I got there's a band, Nightfall.
Yep.
It's a blackened, a melodic black metal, a melodic death metal. It borders both. And actually, I even went, and that's just my ears thinking that. It's like, oh, this is melodic death metal, but there's a bit of blackened tone to it. It's like a bit of blackened tone to it, but there is some melodic death metal in there as well. But it's not pure melodic death metal. It's not pure at all, but there's definitely melodic death metal moments in this album, Nightfall. But anyway, so then I go on Discogs, and yeah, there's a melodic death metal tag on it with black metal as well. So it's bordering that line between, there is some black metal elements in there, but there's also some melodic death metal elements in there as well. So I think melodic death metal can mean many different things, or go into other subgenres as well. It's not just one specific thing. So I think progressive metal does fit into this conversation. I think maybe Death Doom would even fit into this conversation. Gothic kind of Death Doom would fit into this conversation. So that's really cool stuff. Like, I flipped through some like Therion, and I was like, no, that's not really melodic death metal. I put that away.
Because one of my picks is a progressive death metal album. I was wondering if it was okay.
Death metal in here. But I'll flip through some stuff after that's kind of like, the teeters that borderline, right, where there's elements of other stuff in it. But
yeah.
See, like you were saying, that was one of your honorable mentions. I'll go ahead and get one of mine out of the way before I mention my next one. I was gonna say, Dissection. Anything by Dissection is like a melodic death metal and melodic black metal kind of.
Especially Ranko's. Ranko's is yeah. That's a great album. Love that one.
It's a beautiful, that album literally is amazing to me too. Ranko's is. I actually want to get a tattoo of a black dragon, because of Black Dragon.
Yeah,
I actually want to cover that song.
Love that song.
Black Dragon of the Earth. Yeah. But my next pick is the album from 1999. Is Still Bass Suicide by Soilwork. And that is definitely their most raw, aggressive album, I would say. And it's definitely you know, right on the cuffs of what but it's really a really good album. If you have it, Dave,
Steel by Suicide.
yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody? You want to say anything about it, Dave?
Oh, it's a great album. Love that. The Chain Heart Machine was the first album I've heard by them, but that's what got me into Soilwork. But Steel by Suicide is Jamie's or Clint's right. Like that album was definitely like just full on like balls out. It was more raw. It was definitely one of the rawest sounding, but it was still melodic at the same time. But definitely a heavy album. Yeah, one of their heaviest.
Yeah.
Soilwork was always, especially with their later albums, I don't find them like as heavy as they used to be. But Steel by Suit was an awesome album. Yeah, if you're not familiar with that one, definitely give that one a listen.
Yep.
Yeah, Soilwork definitely turned much more progressive. I know when I first discovered Soilwork, they were in that mid-peak period when they were just stepping away from that really harsh kind of thing, harsh thing. But so when I first discovered Soilwork, I was kind of more prone to just stay in that mid area. I just like that kind of mid area, and I didn't really revisit that older stuff a whole lot until kind of recently. So I'm not like super. I haven't listened to that stuff like as much as I have like some of the middle era stuff. So if we were to do 2000s, I'd be having a bunch of more Soilwork in there. So, but I knew Soilwork would show up in the conversation as well because those are great albums. I had to revisit those a little later.
Yeah.
But for me, I could like sing you like the albums that came after like the middle periods. What was the Stabbing the Drama?
That's a good album. I like Stabbing the Drama.
That's when I kind of discovered Soilwork, was Stabbing the Drama, and the one after. What was the one after? I love the one after. I love those two albums, and I was always just kind of stuck in those two albums with Soilwork for the longest time.
Yeah.
My favorite Soilwork is Full Blown Chaos.
Great album.
That's a good.
But
awesome stuff. Soilwork is obviously like an essential. I was gonna say pioneers in genre, but I wouldn't go as far as to say that. But they were definitely early. Like they were early on in the scene.
They were big. Like with them and In Flames. Like do you ever see? Shit. I know Clint. You can probably help me with her. I'm having a brain fart here. The videos, I know the music videos. There was a couple music videos that In Flames and Soilwork. They had their own video. They had their own video, but the other band was in the video with them, and they were kind of making fun of each other. You know what I'm talking about?
I know you're talking about, but I can't think of the songs.
Yeah,
because they were. Yeah, because Speed and Anders are actually really close.
Right. Yeah. Soilwork and In Flames during the late '90s, they were like like that, right? So yeah.
And like that Steel by Suicide didn't come out until 1999, but they were around since 1995.
Yeah.
They've been around, for a long time.
Yeah.
But they just didn't release an album for a while, but they're definitely one of the pioneers, I would say.
Yeah.
Absolutely, great pick. Decimated Soul, you're up next.
Okay, I hope it's okay. This is my other pick. It's not melodic death metal, like I said. So, is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Absolutely, yeah. I think if there's death metal elements in there and it's not just pure death metal, I think it would fit in this conversation. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. I talked about this album last time I was on here, but I didn't get to mention it. I really wanted to. This is my next pick is Opeth Smarm, Your Hearse.
Okay, yeah.
This album, I believe, is their third album. I believe it is. Came out in 1997, 98. I'm not quite sure, but I had. My favorite songs off of this are Credence, April, Ethereal, Demon of the Fall, of course. Awesome song. Win. I love Win. It's just this album is just it's very progressive death metal and some black metalish vocals a little bit into it, in my opinion, a little bit. But Michael Ackerfeld went crazy with this album, and it's a fantastic one. I highly suggest it.
It is good.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's I was never a huge fan of Opeth except those early albums. The early albums,
that's the way a lot of people are.
Yeah, well, the earlier stuff was more death metal. They went way a little too progressive and like clean for their newer albums. I mean,
a lot of
I'm kind of out of the Opeth loop, to be quite honest with you. I haven't listened to them in years, but the early stuff.
When did you stop listening to them? Ghost Reveries or Deliverance?
Probably Deliverance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I still have them all on CD, but I hardly listen.
Yeah.
To them.
Yeah. They're my favorite band, but yeah, it took me a while to get used to his singing too.
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, this is heavy shit. I'm like, you know what?
I'm a big fan of Michael Ackerfeld. I can't pronounce his name, but the vocalist there.
Michael Ackerfeld.
Yeah, he's
such a good vocalist. Yeah. He really is, man. Like, I love the folky stuff they do these days. They go all over the place for genres. They're never just one thing.
But he was actually one of my favorite death metal vocalists back in the day. So
his growls are incredible. Yeah. Well, they were.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
I mean, he can still do them. He's slowly doing them again live.
Yeah.
Which is kind of giving me hope. Maybe he'll bring it back into new music. I hope. My face will be happy if he does.
Well, and then he did Bloodbath as well.
Yes, exactly. Bloodbath, right? So there you go. That's pretty extreme vocals there.
I think he did the two albums. Two albums.
He did 2 albums and an EP.
Yep.
And then Peter Tangerin, I believe, stepped in, right?
Yeah, Peter Tangerin stepped in. Yeah.
Yeah. But
and now he has a lot of hit or misses. A lot of people like him, a lot of people hate him.
Actually, I'm kind of see again with Bloodbath. I know it's kind of off topic, but with Bloodbath, didn't the vocalist for Paradise Lost, didn't he do an album with them?
He's still with them. He's on 2 albums now.
Oh, he is still, right? Okay, good on. Yeah.
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 I gotta research that.
Him doing brutal death metal albums.
Yeah, great. Yeah, he's got great vocals for that.
And it's crazy, the musicians, the guitar players are from Catatonia, which Michael was originally in Catatonia.
Yeah. Yeah.
Michael Ackerfeld was originally the vocalist of Catatonia, and then left Catatonia and then joined Opeth.
Right.
Yeah. I gotta check out Catatonia, man. Holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I find even with the newer Paradise Lost albums, like he's brought the death vocals back, so it's pretty good.
But yeah, Opeth has a lot of hit or misses for a lot of people. Either you like him or you hate him.
Yeah, one thing about melodic death metal and the Swedish sound, there are a lot of these bands are intertwined. They'll have members that leave one band, go to another one. They'll just they're all really right, and they're all really close.
Yeah.
Brothers of Metal.
Yeah.
All right, so Decimated made his Opeth pick, which I was kind of expecting, knowing that he loves Opeth, and I definitely think they fit into the conversation as Opeth would have a ton of melodic death metal.
They do, especially the early.
That's what melodic death metal is essentially. Yeah. So, again, not every album has to sound like At the Gates.
No.
I was using an example as thrash. Not every band sounds exactly like Metallica, right? You've got to think about there was Creator and Destruction that sound nothing like Metallica, yet we still label all of it thrash, right? So that's just a good example of how not every album is going to sound it's just one thing. Like
Trivium sure sounds like
there
Metallica
can be
back then.
there can be variations of these subgenres kind of intertwining, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say, like, even I didn't actually. This isn't a pick for me. Where the hell is it? I was gonna say, like, I believe, like, this Sentence to Mock has a bit of melodic.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like right before they turned super kind of gothic and got rid of the rough vocals. But there's some hard. There's certainly some death metal vocals on here, and
there is, yeah.
There's a ton of melodic choruses, so in theory, that's melodic death metal. So, I thought this would be a worthy, honorable mention as something that kind of borderlines, intertwines in that melodic death metal world. And I feel like, again, no, it's not actually melodic death metal. Maybe like if you go to Google and you Google it, it's going to say no, it's not. It's going to say no, it's not. But it certainly has some elements in it. So I think stuff like this deserves its place in this conversation. As honorable mention and things like that, right? That kind of borders the line and things like that. So I thought I'd throw that in there while we were kind of getting in this bit of that zone. But we'll move along with Heavy Metal Maniac next.
Yeah, cool. No, actually, before I get my next pick, I'll just chime in on that Sentence there, Jamie. That is an awesome album. I used to be huge into Sentence years ago, so I like. That.
Yeah, well, sorry, I was going to say, even like the Jester Race, right? The Jester Race have tons of folky elements, and then that's where kind of Sentence was heading in that. They were kind of doing that folky, gothic-y stuff, right? So I want, like, if In Flames is considered melodic death metal, if this album is considered melodic death metal, why isn't this?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
I'd say that's their last melodic death metal album, though.
Right.
The one they released after that.
Yeah.
I was stating my case, like, if this is considered death metal, why isn't this, right? It kind of works, though, right? Like,
cool. All right. So my next pick is one of my all-time favorite bands that actually didn't start out as a melodic death band. In the very beginning, they were like just straight up kind of brutal death metal. And then a third album is when they kind of made the switch to melodeath. And actually, some people out there may not even really still consider them a melodeath band, or may have never considered them a melodeath band. But in my personal opinion, they always were, like, when they started with the third album. So for my next pick, it's not their third album, but it is Hypocrisy's 1999 self-titled.
Oh, yeah.
I had a feeling you were talking about Hypocrisy. I was thinking it. I was like, oh, this is going to be exciting.
This here is definitely, man, I can't describe how much I love this album. Yeah, great album. I've been a fan of Hypocrisy since The Fourth Dimension. That was the first album I heard by them. I have all, exactly, Jamie. That's probably going to be in my honorable mentions.
That's why it's right here by me.
So, and The Fourth Dimension, that's where they made the switch to the melodeath kind of sound. Obviously, I still love their first two albums, brutal. Yep. Their brutal death metal sound that they had in the beginning. It was great. But I really enjoyed the sound style switch that they made. And they've kept that throughout. Even the new album still has that same kind of sound as their earlier stuff, right? That Hypocrisy has been one of those bands that kind of stayed true to how they sound. They never really changed their sound, really. So, yeah, you're a great, iconic band. But again, there's probably some fans out there that, hey, Hypocrisy is they're not a melodeath band, but you know what? I think a lot of them are. I think a lot of their albums are melodeath, right? So, especially that one.
Yeah, I have a Hypocrisy CD too, but we'll get to that when we get to me.
Yeah, cool.
Hypocrisy. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of them. So that's
that was the last band I saw live.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they put on an incredible show.
Yeah. Peter Taggart's he's like one of my mentors, man. That guy's like amazing. The stuff that he's involved with, just like everything, like anything musically producing, amazing music producer as well. Anything that's produced by him has a distinct sound.
Yes.
Yeah.
What and like what I like about him too, he even branches out of the mellow death metal sound with his industrial band Pain.
Oh, I have all of them. I love Pain as well.
Ooh,
I got all of them
I've been
on
trying
CD.
to get those. I've been trying to hunt, slowly getting them. I have 3 of them so far.
Yeah, I got them all. I have all their albums. So, yeah.
Which and then he did Linderman with Tim Linderman from Rammstein.
Yep.
Oh, that's him. Oh, yeah. 'Cause I know that. Lindemann. I know the Lindemann. I didn't know.
He's the one that does all the beats and everything like that. Peter Tangren is definitely one of the most talented people.
Yeah. Fish on. I like that Fish on. Lindemann's got a song, Fish On. I like that song.
Praise abort.
Yeah. I've been listening to that Fish On song for a while. But, yeah. There's a song on that one called Fish On.
Yeah, that's Peter Taggart and Till.
Yeah.
Cool.
I love Peter. I wish I could have met him. If I got, I have a friend that got to meet him, and I'm like, motherfucker. If I'd have known he was in the bar hanging out, I definitely would have loved to meet him.
Yeah, that's he's definitely an idol for sure. Yeah. Especially
and I remember the first time I heard him, when Jamie was talking about Sentence. I found Sentence's last show DVD at like Best Buy, and I just thought it looked cool, and I bought it. And how I got into hypocrisy, I bought a shitty movie called Alone in the Dark because it had an In Flames music video.
Right.
Is that a game?
No, it's a game. Yeah, but there was a movie.
Oh, so like Silent Hill had a movie. Okay, I gotcha.
But it's a horrible movie. Has nothing to do with the video game. But
God.
I never heard hypocrisy before, and like that, there was a music video for Erase, and I've been a fan ever since.
Yeah, great. Yeah, Arrival. Arrival's an awesome album. Love Arrival.
Yeah.
Cool.
If we were doing 2000s mellow death albums, that would be up there.
Yeah. Cool. That's my next picks. Hypocrisy, 1999, self-titled.
Hell yeah.
Right. So we're gonna get into a real juicy one here, where it's just like, oh yeah, we're getting into the big guns here, but Carcass Heartwork.
There you go, Jamie. There you go, buddy.
I'm trying to be fair with the bands, so I didn't want to put Carcass twice. So I'm like, okay, which Carcass do I use? I either use Heartwork or Swan Song. So I was kind of juggling, but I was doing the juggling act. I was like fine combing. I was like, okay, which one do I actually really like better? Fine combing the two. But anyway, so we're gonna fit the Heartwork in here at number 3 for me. And basically, we're just talking about all bangers here, right? Carnal Forge, No Love Lost, Heartwork, right? Blind Leading the Blind, Doctrinal Expletives. Like we're just talking about just banger.
Man, I gotta listen to Carcass.
And kind of like this melodic death grind here. Like there's a bit of grind, from the old days, but they've kind of adopted a melodic, groovy, grindy death thing going on here, but really cool, accessible stuff. Like it's got just really these thrashy, hooky breakdowns, right? Just like
I think I've heard Blind Leading the Blind.
It's just want to just like headbang and just mosh around and have a good time and shit like that. So Carcass Heartwork, yeah.
Jamie, bud. Yeah.
That's I would imagine it's gonna fill up again. So
yeah, that's I'll just mention it now because you already did that before with one of the other albums. Heartwork is my number 2 pick. I wanted this to be my number 1 pick because Heartwork is probably one of my all-time favorite albums. And it's kind of weird to say because again, I've been a fan of Carcass for a long time, and
when that came out, it got shit on when it came out.
It did because they were a grind band. Nobody
sold out, right?
It did because it wasn't what Carcass originally was, right? They changed it. They changed their style with that, right? But that's where they developed. I mean, they started to develop with necrotism, but it definitely came out with this one, and they had that. They kind of involved that more melodic sound, obviously, with Heartwork, and this came out in '93, and actually '93 in the UK, '94 in the US, North America. So when this came out, I mean, this very well could have been like, it might not have been the very beginning of Melodeth, but this was definitely one of the earliest Melodeth albums that was released, was this one here, right? Yeah. Anyways, sorry for stealing the thunder there, Jamie.
No, absolutely. No, it's great. It's funny because I think I just chose Heartwork because they're a little bit more serious on this album.
Yeah.
And on Swan Song, they're starting to get more like goofy, almost like the death and roll almost. Like there's almost like the almost grind and roll.
Yeah.
Swan Song is almost a grind and roll, so it has like a really fun aspect to it. So I love it equally. I almost love it equally.
It is.
I almost love it more, but I think I just chose Heartwork more because there's just a little more serious about it. But
yeah. It was my number one and my number two pick. They were kind of, Heartwork was almost going to be a number one, but I guess it all depends on how you feel that day. My number one pick, I was actually listening to it earlier, and I'm like, yeah, no, I got to go with this. So.
I was also going to say I think I listened to Heartwork fully today earlier, and then I started skimming into a little bit of necrotism, just to like actually gauge myself. Is there any? Would this fit in with melodic death metal? And I was like, it's just a little bit too grindy to actually fit with melodic death metal. So I left necrotism, like the actual CD, just on my shelf. I didn't even pull it for the show because like it doesn't fit in. It's a little too grindy. Yeah, I just thought it had a little bit too much grind elements in there, and
there's a couple
pure death metal, more pure death metal elements in it. So that's actually kind of a cool kind of like base of where there's like a distinct difference.
Yep.
Like a distinct difference, right? So
yeah.
I just thought that was kind of a cool cutoff. Like, like I did debate like would necrotism, classify as melodic. I was like, it's a little more pure death now. It's a little more grind.
A few tracks
are. So I was like, that doesn't really classify as melodic. So I moved along or sort of thing. But
Heartwork.
Heartwork, killer stuff. And Clint Cthulhu, you're up next.
All right, my next pick. It's funny you mentioned Hypocrisy. That was my next pick. Was Hypocrisy, the final chapter.
Nice.
And originally, that was supposed to be the last, Hypocrisy album.
It was,
originally.
Yeah.
And, they really kind of like didn't expect to get, they really started making it big when that album dropped too. So Peter decided to keep the thing going. But I think they did take like a year or two hiatus a little bit after that. And like, like I think like that's when they really embraced their mellow death sound. I think like the other ones have elements of it.
Yeah.
And I think that's when they fully embraced it. And when they came back from their little bit of a hiatus, I think they really fully went forward with that sound. And there's no regrets. I love all their albums. I have all their albums. They're all incredible. But that was the one that really was the first one that I ever bought. And just amazing album.
Yeah, it is a good album.
I'm not a Hypocrisy historian, so is that the one after Fourth Dimension?
Yeah, after Historian. The final chapter is what it's called.
Yep.
Is that the one after Fourth Dimension? The one directly after?
No, Abducted is after. It's after Abducted.
Oh, it's after Abducted. So it's
Clint's
What
frozen.
the hell?
Oh, I was kidding him a second. He was
What the hell's going on?
I think he's frozen.
His video is great, the whole video, so it'll just
Oh.
Clint's damn phone.
it'll be back. It'll be back. It'll be fine. But yeah, he gave his pick. Anyway, we got his hypocrisy pick. He'll be back. I'll just watch him to join back. He's got his hypocrisy pick, and so we'll go along. And Decimated Soul, you're up next.
So this is my last one, right?
I believe we have two left.
I'm on my last one.
No, I'm on my last one too because mine was Jester Race.
Oh, you threw in your Jester Race? Cool. Yeah, great. All right.
That's why I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
No, all right. So it's my last one.
That's great.
Death Symbolic.
Okay, wow. Didn't think of that.
I love this. Huh?
You know what? That's no. I can see that. I mean, Death was never really. They're definitely not. They were never. They weren't classed as a mellow death band for sure. But
yeah,
you know what? I kind of agree with you a little bit. Symbolic. Symbolic was definitely. It was
that album especially.
It was one of their catchier albums. It was.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they had melody, I mean, they do. Symbolic was probably one of their most melodic ones.
Yeah, especially the song Crystal Mountain.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot of good songs out there. I cannot remember the song title off the top of my head, but man, that album I've listened. Actually, one of my most listened to death metal albums ever. It's on my phone.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I wouldn't have thought of naming Death as a mellow death band, but
yeah, no, it caught me off guard. But I think
I don't know if they're mellow death or not. I just thought of them like a progressive death metal. I don't know. They're not tech death. What are they? Just death metal?
They're kind of progressive. Progressive.
At that point, it's definitely progressive. Yeah, at that point, it's definitely like technical, progressive, technical.
Yeah, technical. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but yeah, Symbolic is
melodic. That was a melodic.
There's certainly melodic elements within the technical and within the technical and progressive aspects of it as well, for sure.
Yeah.
It's definitely not like when you think of melodic death metal. Death does not really come to mind.
No.
Yeah.
Even though melodic death metal and death, there's the word death and death, right? But yeah, it's still an interesting pick. It's still a very interesting pick as well. I would even go with the album after The Sound of Perseverance.
Yeah, I love that album. That's a great album.
Death metal, very progressive melodic death metal, right? But,
yeah, I was thinking about that one, Jamie.
But yeah, I don't know. Who's bugging out? But we'd be at Heavy Metal Maniac, I believe, for his last pick.
Yeah. All right. So like we were just talking about Heartwork there. Heartwork almost made my number one. And I guess that just depends on what I was listening to at the time. And there was another album I was just listening to recently, and I'm like, with another band I was huge into, I still am. And I'm like, no, you know what? I'm going with this one. So I'm going with God Dethroned, 1999.
Oh,
okay.
God Dethroned's good.
Yeah, are you familiar with them?
Yep, they're amazing.
Yeah, I've heard him.
Yeah. You
like them, Jamie?
Brian's in the house. I was gonna say Brian's in the house here, saying hi to everybody.
Yeah, but yeah.
Hello, Brian.
That's my number one pick for right now. Oh, there's light there.
Man, I love God Dethroned. They're definitely there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Nocturnal, my favorite track off this album is Nocturnal. Yeah.
I'd say that's another band that I would say that Black Dahlia kind of was influenced by.
Yeah. Yeah. Big
yeah.
Nocturnal.
Right there. You're right, Clint.
Yeah. 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 That's my number one choice right there. God Dethroned. Bloody Blasphemy. 1999.
That's a great pick.
Yeah.
Yep. Dave always does have great picks.
Yeah. He does.
My turn, Jamie?
No, yeah, I think you were in the top. You already win, so and I think I'm one ahead. So I think maybe I'll show my two, and then we'll go to you last or something like that. But anyway, next up for me, there's no way I could leave this album out. I just love this album way too much, and we're talking about my favorite Amon Amarth album, Avenger. I believe it's 1999. I think it's actually 1999. I think it's actually 1999.
I was going to pick Crusher, but I didn't.
Yeah, this is my favorite Amon Amarth, and yeah, it's my favorite Amon Amarth, so there's no way I'm leaving this off my list. So I did put this at number 2, so there's actually an album I even love even more than this, but this, man, I love this album. It has like a very, very raw sound. Almost the vocals are so distant, it almost has like a blackened sound, almost. Like a bit, like a blackened vibe. But
I've heard some songs from that. I get what you're saying. Yeah.
That's how raw the death metal is. Like he's going so deep with the his vocal that it kind of goes.
Yeah.
And just, but anyway, this album's incredible. The songs just are super unique and hit for me. And yeah, this is kind of just like a Bible for me. And Amon Amarth. Yeah, what are we talking about here? North Sea Storm, The Avenger. The Last with the Pagan God, Metal Wrath, so Legend of the Banished Man, but no way I'm leaving the Avenger off here. Love this album.
Pagan was really good. I remember that song.
That was my favorite Amon Amarth, and I'm surprised no one else. I'm surprised Dave didn't have Amon Amarth actually, because I know how much he loves the first Amon Amarth. I know how much he loves the very first one.
Yeah, I do love.
Yeah, I mentioned that last video, One Step from the Golden Hall.
All right. So yeah, I was surprised no one mentioned that one. And I will do my number 1, and maybe we'll leave Clint on the hot seat with his number 1, which will be
Don't I have
one.
2 left?
They're done. They have their last ones.
No, I have 2 left.
You have 2. Okay, we'll go to you, and then we'll do my last one then.
No, you go ahead and do your last one, and then I'll do my last 2.
Okay, cool. Last one. So. And you and Decimated Soul and Heavy Maniac, you guys did yours, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, mine was just
my number 1 melodic death metal album, just fitting into right before the 2000s, 1999. So I'm calling this the peak of melodic death metal right here. Colony. I still love Colony. It still has everything I'm looking for. Everything. It's hitting all the spots. They're firing on all cylinders. In Flames, like with the hooks, the dynamic switches, like from the shifts that they're doing, like song will spot shift, and go in different directions, right, and change tempos and speeds and go in all these different areas, and just everything they're doing on this album is working. They're firing on all cylinders, in my opinion. I love this album still. When I hear it, I'm still blown away when I hear it. And that is a mark of a truly great album, or an album that you truly deep down love. When you hear it, you're still blown away by it. And I hear it, I'm still blown away by this. But just everything was just working for them. It's just magic. This is just magic for me. It's every song. It's the greatest hits for me. It's every song.
Yeah, that's it. That's a great pick there, Jamie. I think again, that early In Flames, like the 90s In Flames, was just they were on top. They really were. So
yeah, there's something about this album. It's just, for me, I'm able to just sing it. I know all the hooks and melodies. I know when all the time shifts would happen. I just know this album off by heart, and I've never been able to shake it. There's no way.
Yeah, for me, it was Oracle was for me, but yeah.
Cool stuff. Great. So we'll send it off to Clint, and then we did great timing, so we can have a nice little chat with some honorable mentions and some obscure stuff and things like that. So, Clint, what do you got for us here?
All right, my second to my last one is Oracle by In Flames.
There you go.
Like I was gonna do Colony, but I figured somebody else would have Colony. But I thought Horacle would be the odd one out, so I decided to do it. And y'all know it's my favorite band, so I have to have In Flames and everything.
That is my favorite In Flames album.
I was gonna say I have it here. Obviously, should have been more on the ball, but yeah, Oracle.
It's just that
With the
all of them In Flames is timeless. It's all great stuff. It's just I need to go back and listen to that one more. Actually,
Me
that's the
too.
one I listened to the least. I need to go back.
Which
But,
one?
I figured, my number one pick.
I'm interested in this.
I want to do a little game since we have a little bit of time. I want to give y'all each one guess and see if y'all can guess my number one.
Oh, jeez.
Darkane, the first Darkane album. Wasn't that 1999?
That was almost a pick.
Is it a Dark Tranquility album?
That was almost one, but no.
I'm surprised no one picked up Dark Tranquility, but
all right. Amorphous, Trail of 1,000 Lakes.
There you go. Awesome.
Yeah, the one album that we mentioned that wasn't from Sweden. It's from Finland.
Yes. Yeah.
But I love this album. I have a shirt of that album. That album it kind of that I just don't know how to explain that album. Like it's a concept album. It's their kind of version of Thor lost his hammer in the 1,000 Lakes and he has to retrieve it back. And, it's an incredible, incredible album. And so many albums I got to check out now. Definitely, bro. You got to check out a lot of stuff. We got a lot more for you, too. But, yeah, I love Amorphous a lot. And that album is just the chef's kiss.
Yeah, Amorphous, a great pick, Clint. Love that album. Yeah, that's one of my favorite albums, too. Again, Amorphous is another one of those. They're kind of like Opeth for me. I'm not really big on them these days, but their early albums were definitely good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People absolutely love that album and cherish that album more than I do. So that's why I'm stressing people in the underground and cult, people love and cherish that album. You can't disrespect or talk trash about the album. People will get at you, man. People really are passionate and love that album. So
and what made me sad about that album, I mean, their middle stuff I didn't care for, the stuff after that album. But they went back, when they got their new vocalist, they went back and they really started doing good again. But the album after that with the original vocalist, they really went grungy.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard any of their newer stuff, so I'm kind of out of the loop with them.
Yeah, I definitely would recommend the newer stuff, like the album with the swan on it.
Yeah.
And Forward is great.
Okay.
Definitely go back. It's really great,
Shit. Melodic death metal to grunge? What a weird jump.
Yeah, really though, eh?
Do what, Josh?
I said melodic death metal to grunge. What a big ass jump.
But then they went back into melodic death metal under after they got the new vocals.
Cool.
But yep, I hope everybody had a good time and enjoyed the show. And you got some homework, Josh, for some melodic death metal bands.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, dude. I know mostly 2000s. It's sad.
Really, I don't think we really actually scratched the surface, because I know Clint has tons. Clint has tons of he has more. And Clint, do you have any more that you'd like to mention that Some other 90s melodic death metal bands that people should check out or albums.
Like bands, I can go list on, like Dimension Zero,
Ah,
which is, Dimension Zero is a side project from crap. My brain is not wanting to work. The former lead guitar player of In Flames. They started in 1995, released their first EP in '99. The Duskfall, Dark Gain.
Yeah, cool. Look at that.
Yeah.
hey,
Oh, incredible.
Calendish Circle, or is Calendish Circle? I don't know if they actually
Yeah.
released anything in the
Calendish
90s.
yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if they actually released anything in the actual 90s, but they were formed in the 90s, probably.
Yeah, they were formed in the 90s.
I don't own this. I've wanted a CD for years. Like I should just buy the reissue and just pay whatever price. But this definitely this album's so good. I actually probably should have even made my top 5. If I owned it, I probably would have fit it in there. But there's a band that people should check out. Gates of Ishtar.
I saw them when I went to melodic death metal bands.
Right. So yeah, they're from Sweden. They're from the scene way back in 92, 93. So they would have been playing shows with all these bands in the scene with all these bands. So they have that sound. They have that In Flame, that early In Flames, early Dark Tranquility, early raw, harsh vocal sound. Right. Gates of Ishtar. The very first Gates of Ishtar album, A Blood Red Path. Absolutely phenomenal. Oh my god. It's actually kind of that I don't have it.
Jamie, you know what band I'm surprised nobody mentioned? Is some early Arch Enemy.
Yeah, the black fuels and black fuel and black
Black Earth.
Black days, the black earth, the black earth days.
The Haunted's incredible.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
Jamie, I haven't listened to metal much. Clint got me back into metal. My metal days were kind of withering away, sadly. So I had to reignite my flame. Clint helped me.
Because Josh got into NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, and
hell no, that's a lot of rubbish right there. No,
and he likes Justin Bieber.
Never.
He's supporting those Canadian boy and Justin Bieber.
So
never.
Dark Tranquility released albums in the 90s. Obviously, they deserve a mention in this whole topic conversation. The reason I didn't pick any 90s Dark Tranquility is because I actually just kind of personally love a bit of their kind of 2000s ones more. The ones that came after Projected, there's Haven. They had a great streak of albums. Basically, every album is great. They don't put out a bad album, but it's kind of you connect with certain songs and things like that. And I just found Haven and a bunch of songs after are just greatest hits. But anyway, these are great albums as well. They get very very passionate. He's a very passionate vocalist, right? So very meaningful lyrics and things like that. He takes you down these tales and journeys, and they're actually, you know what I mean? Really good songwriting, right? So really good stuff.
Jamie, fun fact about the first Dark Tranquility, that is Anders from In Flames doing vocals.
Yeah, well, on the first EP?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On Storm Dancer, that's Anders.
But
did you just say Sperm Dancer? What the hell did you just say?
Yeah, on that Sky Dancer, yeah.
Sky.
Yeah, if we were to do 2000s, I would definitely find a way to try to get some Dark Tranquility albums in there.
We need to do that, Jamie, if that's cool with you, maybe at some point.
For sure. 2000s melodic death metal. There's so many, right off the bat, I'm telling you, I don't know if it, I don't even want to give it away, but there's a band that the singer of At the Gates joined later on. He joined a melodic death metal band in 2000. The album is just incredible. It's probably my favorite melodic death metal album, even better than the one I picked tonight. But
I thought you said Sperm Dancer, so I was laughing.
I know some controversial or up for some debate is I kind of think this kind of goes in a bit of melodic death metal aspects. Again, no, it's not pure melodic death metal, but it's sure kind of groovy and melodic in certain aspects, right?
Yeah, Rotting Christ and yeah.
What's really weird is like, I don't want to like a hot topic for debate, but it's weird as how Rotting Christ is labeled black metal, but then when I'm listening to this specific album, I don't hear the elements of black metal that you traditionally hear in black metal. So for me, I'm thinking, why is this labeled black metal? Because I don't hear black metal. I'm not hearing black metal in this, so I don't understand why it's labeled black metal. Like, there is black metal elements in there, but I don't understand why it can't fall into a melodic death metal realm. But
I like Theogonia by them a lot. Theogonia, it's a good album.
But I understand like some of the themes are a little more black metal, like the song titles and themes are a little more blackened. So maybe that's why they do get slotted in there. And some of the other albums are a little more blackened and things like that. But I think they also do have melodic death metal elements. Like, I was listening to it and I'm like, this is melodic death metal. Like, this is not black metal. Like, I was like, like if anyone's like thinking like, oh man, this guy's an idiot, like, go listen to this and then go listen to the first Immortal. That's not the same thing. It's just not the same thing. So how it gets labeled as black metal, I'm not really fully sure. So I thought that was kind of black metal. And
are we talking about Rotting Christ? Is that what we're talking about?
That was a Rotting Christ, yeah. Sorry.
I like Theogonia by them a lot.
I have all the Rotting Christ stuff.
And this is weird. Is where's my Amon Amar?
Do y'all like Theogonia by them?
Well, like, it's weird. So this is death metal, or people are just calling this death metal. But they kind of paved the way for Amon Amarth, like this. They came before Amon Amarth, and if Amon Amarth is labeled melodic death metal, why shouldn't this be labeled melodic death metal in a sense? But anyway, that's kind of
a little bit heavier.
Yeah.
Unleashed is pretty heavy.
Like, for me, I don't find Unleashed any heavier than Amon Amarth is, and I don't know. But, and then obviously, Dave mentioned, everybody mentioned Hypocrisy tonight. That was kind of twisting death metal a little bit. They're kind of twisting a little bit. And then I mentioned this Nightfall, where they're kind of there's some blackened elements in there. There's some melodic death metal elements in there. There's a little bit of gothic elements in there. So that's a cool 90s band. Check out Nightfall. Very obscure.
I need to get those. Jamie, I keep forgetting about that. I need to get those albums.
Yeah, I think they're from I think they're a Slovakian band or something like that. So yeah. Very obscure out there. Very cool stuff. So yeah, that's about it for me. If anyone else is, I think Dave rifled and got some honorable mentions, or Heavy Metal Maniac rather got some honorable mentions.
Yeah, I didn't really grab a bunch there, but I definitely wanted to mention that one. Yeah.
Terminal Spirit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, it's at the gates, so great. But speaking of Rotting Christ there, Jamie, I'm a huge Rotting Christ fan, and I kind of agree with you in a way. Like, I guess they're more deemed a melodic black metal band, but I think they could fit in the mold of the melodic death as well, just the way their music is. And just showed that one's their first two albums on a double disc here. So, yeah, Non-Servium is one of my favorite albums by them. An amazing album. Yeah.
Because it's like
you're not a poser, man. It's okay.
Melodic. It's very slow and melodic. Like,
it is, yeah.
I would even call them, Black and Death too. Black and Death.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool. Yeah. There we go. Yeah, I feel like we kind of hit a lot of good spots there. There's probably a few bands. Again, I really wish I owned that Gates of Ishtar. I don't hear a lot of people mention Gates of Ishtar, and they were right up in there. Their first album was 1996, but there's Gates of Ishtar. I wish I owned that one, and there was a bunch of other ones. But cool stuff.
I have a song called "Defiling the Gates of Ishtar," so I find that pretty funny.
Oh, that's funny. But yeah, we'll all say our goodbyes and get out of here. We all can pack her in for the night. But thanks everyone for showing up. Thanks everyone for watching. Subscribe, Mosh. See you later. We'll all say our goodbyes and get out of here, I suppose.
Right on. Peace.
Y'all take
And if
care.
you have any recommendations, put them on the comment below, guys. Like
Yeah,
and
thanks a lot, guys.
subscribe.